It worked well for most of the trip, but at the end, it just finally gave way. So those two pins basically just broke through the plywood. So here's a couple of the issues that we're going to address in this video. These are all from our 10 things that worked and 10 things that didn't. So the first one, this is this little one. It's just replaced that hinge, and I bought one of these spring type hinges that George from Humble Road uses. I don't know if this is specifically the one that he used, but it's pretty close and it works really well. The second one is this backsplash. So I'm going to build a cover that goes around here to cover this stove because it is kind of fragile. If something were to drop on it, I wouldn't want it to break the stove. And then we'll remove it and then stand it up here, and then this will be our backsplash. And the third thing will be the step, which you saw in the intro. Okay, so as many of you know, I had this cool step thing that I made that came out and it folded down. And it was really neat, but the thing just destroyed itself. The pins gave out and it came right through the plywood. So I decided to redo the step, but do a different method. The other issue we had with the step was the door itself. So it worked fine, but when I opened it up, it covered the refrigerator. So every time you wanted to get in the refrigerator, you had to put the steps back and move the door out of the way and then open the refrigerator. So this alleviates that problem. So I have these brackets for like you would use on the end of your countertop, and these support 300 pounds and they're small. These are only 8 inch. So this pops up, and this is a 3/4 inch plywood and a 1/2 inch plywood glued together and then cut. And then in the back here I have a 3/4 inch plywood that's pocket holed into this piece of wood here, and then the bracket itself is mounted with a bolt with a washer on the back and a lock nut inside here, so it's not going to go anywhere. It's pretty sturdy and it's pretty strong. So before it took up this entire space, we decided to do something different, and I'm going to use this space for a little first aid container. Okay, so I'm going to make something similar to this for the other side. And I just wanted to put this all together first before I could show it on camera. But basically it's our medicine cabinet. We took a first aid kit that we bought at, I think it was Walmart, and just made compartments for it so that it'll fit in that space. And so here's the wood that I'm using. This is just 1/8 inch plywood, and I've rabbited just a little corner here, like halfway through, so that when these go together, it'll be that rabbit shape like that. It's just a little bit stronger. It's not an incredibly strong plywood, but it'll be a little bit stronger with that rabbit in there because the glue will have just a little bit more surface area. So I'm using CA glue and then Activator, Starbond. So what you do is I've cut some slots in here for shelves. So basically the way you do this is just put in some CA glue in the slot, and then I'm going to take the other end and I'm going to spray Activator on it. And what that does is it instantly hardens the glue in just like about 10 seconds. There you can see that's already put together. And then just repeat that. So now I need a piece to go in the middle. So I have a slot here and here for a divider this way, and then I have another one over here, but I need to make a slot for that. that's what it'll look like. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take CA glue and go around all these joints on the inside and then spray them so that it hardens up, and that'll just give it a little bit more reinforcement. Okay, that's all the corners. So now I'm just going to put a face frame on it. Okay, so I've got my four ports marked. So I'm gonna go cut these on the jigsaw. One thing I would recommend, especially with this thin plywood, is scoring the lines with a sharp blade, because the jigsaw really tears it up. It tears up the grain and lifts it. Okay, so a lot of people will just drill through, but you can also plunge with your jigsaw. So just hold it like this, get an idea where it's plunging, or how long it is, and then just So here's everything put together. This step basically just fits into this groove. I actually cut the step out of this material, and then I had to make these little slots for the hinge itself. When it stands up, it needs that space to come forward. So then we'll just pull up there and lock like that. It's not in the way of the refrigerator, so we can open that up. Up here is our medicine cabinet. So this is just two little boxes that I made to hold all of our first aid stuff. You know, you never know, but we had this kit, and it was double wide here and then tall, and so I just decided, well, I could just make some slots for that stuff and put it in its own little cubby, and it's nice and compact because it fits in the space that the 80/20 uses, which would have been wasted anyway. For this edge here, this board was cut a little off, I think, and I just had it hidden with the door. And so what I'm going to do is take some vinyl molding and just cover that up. Alright, so there's the trim. Got rid of that gap, so it makes it look a lot cleaner. Super easy to work with. It's just the PVC trim that you can buy at Home Depot or Lowe's. And I believe this is 3/4. But yeah, on white, it looks great. Can't really tell that it was terrible cut. Yeah, so pretty happy with that. I still got to Velcro these in so that they stay put. You can see they hop when the door moves. But yeah, pretty happy with that. So my next project, I'm going to cover this with like a cutting board, so that when we're not using it, it protects the glass. We also want to protect the back wall, because you can see like there's a grease spatter and stuff there, and it gets on the screen and in the window. So we want to be able to just like move it up here and create like a backsplash to protect the door when she's cooking. So we were going to use a butcher block countertop and try and carve out, maybe hog out the inside or add some wood to the bottom of it to give it some clearance over top of the cooktop. But instead I found this tread from Home Depot. It's a stair tread. So it's this width by 48 inches long. So I cut it in half to 24, because the cooktop is just about 24 inches, a little shy, 23 and a half. And then out of the cutoff, I took a slice of the other end. So now I have both the the little riser portion there. And then off this cutoff part here, I cut off another piece that I'll put on the side like this. So to join these together, I have what's called a Dowelmax. So this is the Dowelmax here, and it just goes over. It comes with two sizes, so I'm using the smaller size. And then you just place it so that it lines up with the edge, and then I drilled 2 holes. This is actually the wrong side here. Drilled 2 holes, and then I have this little spacer piece that you just put in one of your holes, and then drill 2 more holes. Again, slide it down, and these tighten up so that you get a nice firm grip. And again, 2 holes, and then this last one I just went to the edge and did that hole right there. Did that hole right there. And then I just repeated the same thing on the other side. And the nice thing about this tool is it's pretty fast and it's pretty accurate. Works really good, pretty easy. So these would just fit together just like that. So I'll glue this up, and then I'll compress it, and then make a nice strong joint. So this is the backsplash put together, and I've stained, or not really stained, I've coated one side of it with this butcher block conditioner. It's a food grade mineral oil and natural wax. I've used it on other stuff, it works really well, and it creates a smooth surface. This notch here is where it's going to go around that corner inside the van, and then this relief is where it's going to sit over top of the existing stove. So I just need to let this side dry, and I'm going to flip it over and do the top side. Okay, so here's the final cooktop cover. So we also had a good idea that we could use this as an outdoor table. So I'm going to design a leg system that'll collapse really small, but whenever we're outside of the van, we could use it for a tabletop, and it'll be a triple use because it'll be a cover for the cooktop, plus a flip up for a splash guard, and then now a table. All right, so here's the final table. It's basically just uses the lips of these on the legs to hold it steady. And it's pretty steady. It's a little shaky on here, but because I'm on a table. But. So this would go in our countertop here to cover. And then this is basically the design here. I have a middle rod that screws into these T-nuts. So this is a sample of a T-nut here. So with this, you would drill a hole that fits this outer part here and press it into the wood, and these little spikes prevent it from spinning. You want it so that your tension is going to pull it this way. You don't want it this way. So like here, if I was putting a screw into it and I tightened it down, it would want to pull the nut out of the wood, but the other way it won't pull it. So I have a rod going through, screws into that, and then that creates the tension for it. Added these ropes to the top side here just to prevent it from overextending. And then to put it away, I just put wing nuts on the end. So this was if you needed it to be really compact. You could just store it folded up like this. That would fold up like that. But if you need more space, you just take these wing nuts off. This just comes out. just come back down like that. I would put these on the ends here too, so you don't lose them. But then that's a nice compact area for our back here, where we can just store it in our storage bin back there. So the other thing I wanted to mention, this is just a threaded rod that I cut to size. I drilled the hole. This is a 1/4-20 threaded rod, and I drilled the hole one size smaller, so the threaded rod barely fits into it, and if you turn it, it'll create like a little groove, and so it creates a little tension on there. If you find that it would come out, then I would just use like epoxy glue to fasten it in there. That's what I did on this middle rod here. And then this is just a large jute rope, and in order to keep it from unraveling, I just put CA glue all around the knot. Okay, so here's my solution for using this as a backsplash. So it basically is just going to come up, going to sit against this little tab here, and then I have click lock tape over here. So I just push that down and then twist that. And it's not like super sturdy, but it just, all it really needs to do is to block the grease from hitting the door. And then I have more click lock tape here, so when I press it down over top, it fastens it there and it's not going to move. So one thing I do need to do is put some little rubber feet, little tiny plastic feet under here so that it doesn't vibrate, because you'll hear that if you're driving. So I had a comment on the last video on what click lock tape is. So it's actually 3M dual lock. It used to be called click lock, but they changed it, and now there's some that are like extreme. But basically, it's a roll of this stuff, and it looks like kind of like the hard side of Velcro, but it doesn't have the felt. And so what it does is it just clicks to itself like that, and it's really much stronger than Velcro. So I would use this probably in areas where you wanted to be able to remove it, but not really all the time. Velcro might be a little better for like a screen or something where you want to be able to take it down and just put it up every now and then. This stuff, it's like super strong. So like once you get a large portion of it and try and pull, especially you get a large section of it like that and then try and pull it apart, it can be really really tough. So it's great for holding. On wood, if you were going to use this stuff on wood that isn't painted with like a glossy paint, you might want to do some glue on the back of it, because it will tend to peel. So like on a thin 1/8 inch plywood, this would just kind of peel right up. But if you put like some super glue or CA glue on the back there and then press it on to fit in and hold it, then it would work pretty well. Generally you want to hold this stuff down on whatever surface you're tacking it to and press on it for like 30 seconds before you release to give the adhesive a good grip. But it works really well.